Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Peace be upon us and all righteous servants of Allah. Assalamu alayna wa ali Allah salim. All praises belong to Allah. Alhamdulillahi. I praise Him. Ahmaduhu. I seek His assistance. Wa asta'inahu. I seek His guidance. Wa astahdihi. And I seek His forgiveness. Wa astaghfiruhu. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu. His is the kingdom, lahul mulku, and for Him is praise, walhamdu. And He has power over all things, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. As for follows, Amen. Allah states in Surah 6, Ayah 54, when you come before those who believe, you say, Assalamu alaikum. To that I say, Assalamu alaikum. So, I like to start off when I talk by stating something personal. That I was called yesterday evening to be the khatib for today. So, I try to get down as quick as possible and consolidate my thoughts regarding the khutbah for today. You know, a wise man shared with me. He said that, he asked me, he said, do you know the difference between joy and happiness? I said, I have no idea. I thought it was the same thing. And he said, joy is a state of being, and happiness is a state of mind. You may not always be happy, but you can remain in joy. So, I'm happy and I'm enjoyed to be here today. The fact that I received the invitation, the fact that he reached out to me, and alhamdulillah, it gives me an opportunity to say something that inshallah Allah will be proud of. Asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bestow knowledge on me and teach me the way how he would like for me to learn. So inshallah, what I give to you today will be inshallah of that knowledge. And if I say anything wrong, it's of my own soul. So today, the talk for today is really coupled around the idea of what do Muslims follow and what do we adhere to. As I talk to my son all the time, I say, you know, Allah states in the Quran that we follow the Sirat al-Mustaqim. We follow the straight way, or the balanced path. So as Muslims, as I state to my son, is that a Muslim is not so much in the name of a Muslim, but it's in how you line up with following, as I call it, the heavenly way. It's the path that leads to heaven. And you have those who follow the hellish path, as I like to call it, the fiery path, as I call it. And it's the path that leads to Jahannam. So in this is the ideal, this is the way I want us to start someone thinking of these two paths. And this is the way I explained it to my son. Is that we have this one clear translucent path. And we see radiance of light coming from it, right? Some of us play video games and others watch movies and read books. It's easy to imagine this, right? So we have this one path that is clear, but we have the translucent light emanating from it. Then we have another path in the distance to our left. As in Revelation, the left side is considered the wrong side. So we have the hellish path, which is red. And you have on this heavenly way, you see many paths leading from it. And you step to the right or to the left. You step to the left, and on your left you see a clear path with a little red in it. You take another step to your left, you see a clear path with a little bit more red in it. Until it gradually, that clear path eventually becomes fully red. Most people, most of us, most of humanity, is like this on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, on the heavenly way. We go back and forth between what Allah has ordained for us in balance and in servitude to Him, and we jump into deception every now and then. We jump into the iniquities every now and then. So we like this on the path. But we have those who are intentionally, some who are intentionally, they know what they do is wrong. They know what they do will lead them to hell, and they follow that path anyway. So I want to somewhat describe these two paths, and really real world understanding, real world, not so much high concepts, not so much speaking in metaphors and similes and the parables where the point may be missed. I really just want to focus on the application so we can become better, in every way. I really serve our Creator as though He has created us to serve Him. So that's the purpose of my talk. And I wanted to provide this Quran ayah, this Surah 5, ayah 77. It says, O people of the book, do not go to extremes in your religion, other than in truth, nor follow the vain desires of people who went wrong in times gone by, who misled many and strayed from the balanced way. Allah is telling us not to go to extremes. But how do we not go to extremes? In every body of knowledge, you have extremes. In every body of knowledge. And you find it among scholars of old and new, today, modernity, it doesn't matter. If a person studies medicine, their extreme may be if they save a life, that they think they're accountable, or they actually saved their life. Or saying that I am responsible for life. If a person is a legislator, the person who creates laws, it could be religious or secular. That in itself has the body of knowledge of a legislator in itself has many extremes in it. You come to a legislator with the issue, and they give you passive law to assist you in governing yourself. They will pass a law for all men to assist you in governing yourself. This has taken grip of the Muslim world. You have many scholars. I love to read their works. You have the Hanafis and the Shafis go back and forth about where Prophet Muhammad ﷺ raised his hands when he prayed. You have volumes of libraries just on that. I'm reading it the entire time, and I think about when Omar, and who snatched up the believer in the masjid and took him to the Prophet and said, did you teach him how to recite Quran this way? And he told him, yes. He didn't hear him recite it this way ever before. His nearest companion never heard him teach this one individual how to recite the way he did. So we're going to have volumes on one idea or one application of our faith, when it may be that there's variety. When it may be that there's variety. And there's so much variety. Most of the hadiths are not directly connected to his sunnah. The sunnah would be a discipline. And a hadith is what you would consider an act or part of data, right? For our computer people. It may be one incident that you need this bit of advice, but it's not meant for all people and at every place and time. And Allah tells us this in the Quran. He says that I did not send my prophets to govern your entire life. And those who read the Quran during the month of Ramadan, I know you came across that several times. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? It hasn't been meant to be that way. So, moving on to the subject at hand. Oh, and I did want to say that the officer is linked to extremes that feel as though they control people. The king may see himself better than others instead of serving in the way of God, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in almost every application of knowledge, there's extremes. There's extremes. So I hope this message is in our greatest good. I hope this message is in the greatest good of our families, the greatest good of our communities, and the greatest good of all life everywhere. Amen. So, the Muslim embodies the wisdom of Al-Islam in all aspects of life: public, domestic, private, public, and spiritual. Those are the 4 areas I really want us to somewhat focus on. And going forward in your studies, inshallah, you will take all the hadiths that you read, all of the Quran that you've read, and you will put it in these 4 areas: the domestic, the private, public, and spirit, or the spiritual aspect of yourself. So we have many Muslims who participate in society as leaders, advisors, entrepreneurs, and professionals. However, what truly binds Muslims to one another is the presence and the balance of each of these aspects of living. Like I said, which is the domestic, the private, the public, and spiritual. Central to the public life of the Muslim is the art of leadership. I use the word art because it really is art. For anyone who has ever trained in martial arts, you know that you learn a core discipline. But in you learning that core discipline, you have to maneuver and use at hand what particular skill you have developed during your training when it's required, right? So, if someone is attacking you with words, in martial arts, they will teach you how to evade the words. You're just not going to come out and hit someone. They teach you to go against that. Islam is the same way. Allah is teaching us the virtuous conduct. He's teaching us the way to apply His teachings through His prophets. So this is really our character, our disposition, our life is really an art form. And we have gotten away from that. We think it's just words. No, it's an art form. We have to teach that to our children. I try my best to teach that to my son, and inshallah to my youngest son, that this is an art form. Someone says something to you, the way you respond, with the goal in mind. So Allah says in Surah 3, Ayah 104, let there rise from you a community inviting to all that is good, advocating for what is right, and protecting against what is wrong. And they are the ones who attain felicity. That's leadership. Then we have, central to the domestic life of a Muslim, is the art of healthy living. This is not only referring to the nourishment we take into our body, but it's our entire disposition, the way we think. This is in all aspects of our life. Allah states in Surah 2, Ayah 168 through 169, O you who believe, eat of what is on the earth, permissible and healthy, and do not follow the footsteps of Satan, for he is to you a sworn enemy. He only commands you what is harmful and shameful, and to say about God that which you do not know. So we have, in our domestic life, healthy living is essential. And then we have, in the private life, central to the private life of the Muslim is the art of concealment. Now, I love this principle of concealment. This is moderation in all things. A person could have just received a check for $100,000 or be a millionaire. It's not for everyone to know what this person is worth or what this person has received. And two, it's needed. We're not boisterous, we're not boisterous people. We are humble. And when I say humble, I'm not saying that we are insecure, because a lot of people mix humility with insecurity. They walk into a room, they acting humble, they have their back curved, they're looking down towards the ground, they talk to you. It seems more insecure than actually humble. A humble You can tell when a person has knowledge, but they restrain themselves. They're not bent on trying to correct you in every single thing you do. They may not even say anything to you until they recognize that you care for them. And then somewhere down the line, they will partake some wisdom on you for your benefit. So insecurity is not humility. So we need to be able to understand these things. So you have the art of concealment, that you conceal what Allah has blessed you with until the time is presented to you for you to reveal it. The art of concealment. This is essential to our private life, keeping our private life separate from our public life. Allah states in Surah 2, Ayat 177, "It is not righteous that you turn your faces towards the east or west, but it is righteous to believe in God, in the last day, in the angels, in the book, in the messengers, to give of your substance out of love for Him, for your family, for orphans, for the needy, and for the son of the road, for those who ask, and for those for the freeing of slaves, to be steadfast in prayer and give zakat, to fulfill the contracts which you have made, and to be firm and patient in pain and suffering and adversity, and through all periods of crisis. Such are the people of truth, the realized." Then the law tells us, well, going on to the next. Central to the spiritual life of a Muslim is the art of worship. This is being mindful of Allah in all things. In all things. We are appreciative for all things. And we are not to put on a show in our prayers. We're not to... I had a conversation with my son, and all of the media stating that Muslims are doing this and Muslims doing that. And I asked him, I said, can you tell if someone is on the heavenly way, the heavenly path, by the clothes they wear? He said, no. I said, can you tell if someone is on the heavenly way by the words they speak? He said, maybe, but I'm not sure. I said, that's a good answer. How can you tell if someone is on a heavenly path? Only Allah knows. Only Allah knows. People acknowledge you, or people acknowledge you by your physical physique, by this vessel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses with. But Allah doesn't look at your physical physique. He looks at your heart. This is humility. This is balance. And through this, I hope it's drawn into some type of reminder for us that we can say, you know, I need to practice the art of concealment. I find in myself to like to be boastful. I find in myself wanting to show people how well I recite Quran, rather than when the need presents itself, being in the vanguard of those who do right for the sake of Allah, but wanting to do it for the sake of man. So, some adjectives that define the heavenly way. We will say is discernment. It's contentment, meaning that you can be content. You can be satisfied with what you have, but always desire more. That's a balance. If you live in a house with no refrigerator and no stove, it's not for you to, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed, I give Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam as an example. He has blessed him with much. And in the Quran, he doesn't really tell the story of why he blessed him with much, but in the Bible it does. And in the Bible, when David, alayhi salam, was retiring from kingship, he had an assembly that he called to pass leadership onto his son Sulaiman. And he stands before the crowd, and he's lecturing his son before all of the believers. He says, if you follow Allah's way, if you do what he asks you to do, he will bless you. And if you turn away from him, he will leave you. And when he leave you, your enemies will come against you, and you will have no protection. And all that we have is from Allah. And he warns them all of these things. It's a beautiful passage. I suggest for anyone to go read a conversation of a prophet with another prophet. It's quite beautiful. Suleiman, or Prophet Sulaiman, he goes back to his home. And when he goes to sleep, I like to mention this also. Angel Jibril is not mentioned in Revelation to actually coming to a prophet, and to Prophet Isa. The story of Isa. It's Mary. That's the first time it's mentioned in Revelation. Before that time, Angel Jibril didn't come to the prophets to bring revelation. You had something called, it's the root word of wahi, it's al-had. It's the deposit of revelation into the mind. So you have, that's why the Quran is so different in a lot of ways. Because you have other revelations. You will hear even people in the book, they say that this prophet was inspired to write this. Well, where Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Angel Jibril came to him and revealed it to him. There's two other words, as we know. Deposited into his chest. We're familiar with those hadiths. So it's interesting to know. So when you read the Bible and it says that Allah has appeared to a prophet in whatever form, it sounds a little weird to a Muslim sometimes because the way we think of Angel Jibril coming to Revelation. But we have to understand that the Jewish calendar is about 5,000 BC. I think it's about 6,000 BC and something. On their calendar today, 6,000. They're on year 6,000 and something. We're on year 14 something. So just to think, I find this to be quite fascinating, but not to deviate. So Suleiman, or Sulaiman, Prophet Sulaiman, alayhi salam, has a dream. And in his dream, Allah asks him, he says, you as now the leader of my people, what would you like? And Suleiman says to him, he says that your people is more plentiful than dust in the air. Or another way of understanding sand on the beach. Please give me the wisdom to lead them. And God says to him, he says, I would have granted you anything you asked for. And of anything that you could have asked for, you only asked for wisdom. And it's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the previous revelation is like impressed with his modesty and piety. And he says to him, because you only asked for wisdom, I will give you everything you did not ask for. So he gave him an amazing kingdom. He made the jinns bow to him. He's given him power over wind. He's built him the most beautiful kingdom. I give this to say that we strive for virtue in all matters, in all ways. We strive to be balanced in our public, domestic, spiritual, and in private, in all matters. But we always still strive. This is only for contentment. We're content with where we are, but we do desire more. We have courage. This is the heavenly way. Tranquility. You know, a lot of times we define words as translators. We say, Assalamu alaikum, means peace be upon you. That's one translation. You can use salam, it can be translated as saying, I wish serenity upon you. I wish tranquility upon you. The word peace is really, it's an idea that we've used it so much. Some of the energy and power with that word has somewhat been removed when you say, you know, I wish peace upon you. But I wish tranquility upon you. I wish serenity in your life. This is all salam. This is all salam. virtuous, pious, piety, prudence, temperance, which is self-restraint, which is moderation, merit, mercifulness, compassion, leniency, peace, etiquette, moderation, and trustworthiness. These are some of the adjectives to help describe what the heavenly way is. It's not only saying Ashadu. It's not only saying I believe in one God. It's not only saying, it's not the only aspect of the heavenly way. That's a part of it. But I must say, I'm in business for myself. Some of the most shady characters I've dealt with has given them title Muslim. Some of the most shady people I've dealt with. Period. And I've traveled the world. And it's quite sad that that's true. So it's not your title, as I said to my son. It's not what you call yourself. It's how you align yourself with these adjectives in your life. This is what defines if you're a Muslim or not. In description of the hellish way, the Jahannam way, we have envy, greed, enmity, arrogance, racism, bigotry, rapture, anger, sadness, suspicion, worry. Yes, worry is part of the hellish way, because if you are strong in faith, hey, you only live twice. That's what I say. You only live twice, you know? Well, I worry. I worry sometimes. So I'm not saying I'm one of those who just on the straight way. I'm one of those who do this. I'm trying to be on it. I jump on, oh God, I trust in you. Put me back on your path, please. Please. You know, I'm like many of people. I'm just like this on the street. I'm trying my best, trying to jump on it. I may say something that may sound a little deceptive. I'm like, wait, no, maybe that's not the way it really. Let me clarify just to make sure it's no, you know, you're not getting the wrong picture. So I say that to say, because I don't want to stand in a position of making it seem that I'm better than any of you. Maybe all of you out there are better than me. And I approach that in this way. And I'm humbled in that way. So, and that's in all honesty. I know none of what's in your heart. You know? Only Allah knows what's in our heart. So we have regret. Which can fall in both. Stubbornness, fear, carelessness, and bluntness. Certain aspects of what we could just consider to be part of our personality is actually maybe part of the hellish way. So we have to find. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that we follow Din al-Fitr, the original way. The original way. Now, in this original way, we have what has made the need for prophets important in the history of humanity. Is because Satan has come to deceive us from our original way. But a need for a prophet is in societies when they have left the original way. So a prophet is to bring you back to what Allah has already put within you. Just think about this. It's an interesting concept, but it's true. The separation between right and what's wrong, that is a distinction that had to be provided by prophets and by noble people who have come before. Because the principles of just the idea of right and wrong, within your soul, you already know what those things are. So if you're following the way of Allah, as I described for the prophets, the root word is al-has, when Allah deposits a memory into your mind, deposits a thought into your head. So when Musa alayhi salam is at the sea and he pulls out his staff to open up the bodies of water. It says that it used the word wahi, but the root word is al-had. It's not saying that an angel came to Moses. You don't read where an angel really came to Musa. Allah spoke directly to him. This was inspiration coming into him. It's fascinating that this lives within us. So when Allah says He's closer to you than your jugular vein, when Allah says, He speaks of that how close He is to our heart, this is historical precedent saying that I will deposit things in your mind. When you're walking in a path and you hear something, don't go that way. Don't do this. This is more than just us. So, with Din al-Fitr, that original way, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and He shares these wisdoms with us, even in the Quran, even with different stories that He shared with us regarding the prophets. And I want to deal with this regarding women, and we're going to go to, we're going to end this part of the khutbah, and I'll start the next, inshallah. Regarding women, Allah states that He created women. Or, this is actually in a hadith, where a man came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding women. And he says, women were created from our rib. Do not bend them. You know, or do not bend them or they may break. In the Bible, Genesis, Musa, the author of Genesis is said to be Musa. Musa writes that women has come from the rib of man. And I'm just talking about Allah speaks in different levels regarding what our fitr is. And He's sharing with us even in our creation. So He says, for the Egyptians, which Musa was an Egyptian, he was a Hebrew, but he was raised in Egyptian tutelage. He attended Egyptian schools. He learned from their body of knowledge. And there's many different ayahs in the Quran that links all of these things together. But the heart dwells inside your chest. So when Allah is sharing with him, or through inspiration that you come from the rib, or the woman comes from the rib of man, is an indication, first of all, that the rib is the only bone in the body that you can completely remove, and it will completely grow back. You can completely snap the rib in half, and it will grow back. It's the only bone in the body that operates in this way. Egyptians knew this. It's talking about how women are to protect the most righteous aspects of our society, and that is in their nature. So we have the Quran ayah where it says that men, you may dislike something of your wife, but I may have instilled it to them for pretty much your benefit. Even within our creation, in every ayah Allah talks about our creation, He's actually talking about our fitr, our original way, the way He created us. He created us to worship Him. He created us to submit our will to Him in every aspect. So, closing up the first part, that we have the heavenly way. We have the way of virtue. We have the way of righteousness. We have the way that Allah has given us His examples in His prophets. And the last messenger, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for all mankind. And we have the hellish way that we're to avoid at all costs. And just because you call yourself a Muslim does not mean you don't follow the hellish way. Does not mean that. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Assalamu alaikum. So, like I said, as I was called last night, I just jotted down some notes. So, seeking balance. That's pretty much what I want to really deal with. Seeking balance in our today. We as Muslims, and I teach this to my son, we have what we do not possess. We say that everything belongs to Allah. Everything is Allah's. But how does that show up in our day-to-day life? How does that fall into the way we converse with one another? The way we share items with one another? What we desire to hold on to? And what we may be greedy about? It's through this concept that we have what we do not possess. I may have this phone in my possession. It's not mine. It's through the mercy of Allah that He gave it to me. So it's easy for me to let it go. So we have what we do not possess. And that will fall into the idea of the private life, the way we deal with our family, the way we can build communities. You know, I say this hopefully as an inspiration to us, but not as to big myself up in any type of way, or to try to make you think anything of me that is not true. I said to my wife, because she wants me to get a new car, right? She wants me to get a new car. And I said to her, after our community has a school, I'll give you a new car. So I know friends like, you better get that school going. But this is the way this is the way we should be thinking. We desire to have a beautiful home, alhamdulillah. We desire to have all of these things. We really have to prioritize. We really have to prioritize. And when we look at our life, we have to see, is it in line with the virtuous path? If it's in line with the heavenly way. Many of the ayats in the Quran are really referring to the individual. But when Allah talks about the ummah as being balanced, certain things you cannot do without having institutions to teach your children. So we educate our children in elementary school, and then in high school, and then in college, which we're not really doing that. We're not really doing any of those things, but I'm just saying, even if we work, and then we don't have businesses set up for them to go work for the righteous. They go work for the people who are against their interests, because they will pay them a sufficient salary for them to take care of this. All of these things are balanced. All of these things are part of the heavenly way. So we have responsibilities to our family, but we also have responsibilities to our community. And at a certain place down the line, you have books now that describes that the parents, how influential the parents are actually on their children. You can be the greatest parents in the world, but if you live in a horrible neighborhood, that neighborhood, the percentage of your child going that way is much greater than a person actually not being a good parent, but just being around good people. Just being around good people. I want to provide this about qadr. I have a talk with my Muslim friends, right? Some of my teachers and everything. And I say, the mindset of many of us Muslims, we think wrong. It's like we think because sometimes that we are Muslims, that things should be simply easy for us. You know? That if I strive for it a little bit, it doesn't go my way, Allah means for me not to have it. I say, I call it the Muslim versus the Batman mindset, right? I say, just say you had this real righteous individual hanging upside down, Joker has him there, right? Hanging upside down, a tank of water is being filled. You have the righteous person try to remove themselves and say, oh my God, I'm trying my best. It didn't work. I guess it's the way for me to go. I have to take it. The water goes over their nose. They go, oh, this is not the way I want to go. Last minute, they put up a fight, and that's the way they go, right? And right beside that tank, you have Batman, right? You have Batman. He's in that tank from the beginning. He's fighting to get out. And when it seemed bleak, there's no hope, he figures out something. Oh, and just picture the righteous man was looking at him beside him. He probably like, hey, just let it go. And this is what you find scholars through all the ages. That lady has a heart problem. It's meant for her to die. Don't work on her. Don't help her. So you have that the body of knowledge of science had to remove itself from the righteous because the righteous kept putting limits and saying to them what God has stated for them to do. So we use the ideas of qadr incorrectly. We use it to make us weak. We use it to make us weak. Oh, I couldn't do this. I guess it wasn't meant by Allah. Did you work towards it? Did you work for it? This is to understand even qadr. Because we say it's ordained when you die, right? It's ordained when you die. The way I like to understand this stuff is a body of laws that governs every aspect of our life. And it's infinitely more sophisticated than we possibly can conceive. But what you do or don't do has a bearing upon that. So for an example, if you choose to only eat McDonald's and nothing else, you can't say that this was the qadr of Allah for me to be overweight, for me to be in a hospital on an IV, and so on and so down the line. Whose choice was that? Allah says He wrongs no soul. Whose choice was this? This was your choice. You have decided to do that to yourself. So a community that doesn't build schools, so a community that does not have business, when they come in here and our children start to think that homosexuality is okay and start to think that all of the iniquities is okay, and they talking to you in a crazy way. And you say, I didn't raise you to talk to me this way. By your inaction, you have allowed this. By your inaction. It's not only your action, it's your inaction also. You have allowed for this to take place. And we begin to rest on the fact that this is the part of the law. It's not the mindset. It's not the true mindset of a person on the heavenly way. A person on the heavenly way, they strive. They give it all. They give it their all. We read the life of these prophets, peace be upon them, and our companions. They strive. Let them tell we can't do something. Oh my God, you read stories, and I really don't like to talk about stories of war. Because when we talk about stories of war, it's blown out of proportion. We say, oh, the companions, they fought, they did this and they did that. I say, study World War II and study World War I. You've seen these people, the military in these countries, laying in ditches for days with their friends' bodies next to them, weeks and sometimes months at a time. War is not a beautiful thing. And sometimes we beautify when we talk about the companions, but we don't really put it in the context of understanding what they went through and what the striving is, and how it's even much worse today. It was bad then, but it's much worse today. The weapons, oh my God, it's so much worse today. So I don't like to, I like to provide it to balance to what I'm sharing. But you read stories where a person, hand cut off, their arm, 70 wounds, and they continue to fight. Us modern Muslims, we get hurt one time. Oh, this is the way I'm supposed to go. Just fall against the wall. Give me the crowd. I gotta make some more rain. This is not. It's sad because it's reflected in our communities. It really is. It's reflected in our progress. We are okay with being mediocre. We are okay with being third best. We are okay with striving for a little bit. We are okay with wanting what someone else wants and achieving that and thinking we have arrived. We are okay with those things. But when you look at the development of other communities, they're not okay with that. They're not okay with their children attending public school. They're not okay with shopping and purchasing things from someone that is not of their faith or their brother. They're not okay with going to movie theaters and skating rinks that they don't own. They're not okay with putting on clothes that wasn't produced by their brother's hand. They're not okay with any of those things. They're not okay with it. But many of us are okay with all of those things. We're okay with wearing name brand clothes and popularizing it. Many of our children, or some people here, some people not here. We're okay with desiring a huge house where most of our money goes to paying a mortgage and taxes, when we don't really have anything to give back in sadaqah. Many of us are okay with these things. We have a lot of work to do. The crazy thing is when we listen to the media and they say some of these horrible things, it's not the way of the Muslim, but many Muslims have not presented Islam in a way that we have become the models of communities. Tell me one nation, Muslim nation, that you would say is the model for all communities. I started off saying this, and I'm going to close on this. We have certain bodies of knowledge. In itself is imbalance. You have a police officer or an officer of the law. In the role itself as an officer, it yields to imbalance. In the role itself, you have to protect people, you have to defend yourself, you have to deal with your worry, you have to deal with risk, you have to deal with fear. You may find yourself being rough on somebody. Just the field itself, as a legislator, Islamists read the discussions that are taking place in the history of Islam amongst the Muslim world, and then read what was going on around them. Read what was going on around them at the same point in time. And you read it, and you're like, wow, this is really interesting. But when you read of how the many discussions of scholars through the ages, I gave the example of where you place your hands when you pray, of the Hanafi and Shafi, and their arguments. You have volumes of books that cover where your hands go. Volumes. You can fill libraries with this. This is during the time that the Europeans are conquering. The sun never sets on the British Empire. They come into the Muslim world and they shake up the entire establishment of what Islamic law is. They're like, well, what is Islamic law? How do we compete with them? How do we compete with their way? They've been conquered by them. The European comes in and says, no, what you're practicing is not true law. What is right and what is wrong? And they say, well, we have many different views. It's okay having different views, but I'm just saying the time that they spent upon the most knowledgeable amongst them, spent their time, devoting their time to things that really wasn't contributing towards society and the community at large. So they were taken by those who paid attention to the things that matter, making sure their children know the sciences, making sure their children are up upon the most progressive issues. And it's still happening. So I just close on this. This is a reminder to you. It's also a reminder to myself that we follow the heavenly way. That's the path of virtue. and moderation in all things. And we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to our communities to desire for more. For our children. We want them to walk into skyscrapers. Just not a school. I just gave basic. Just not a school. We want them to walk into skyscrapers. We want them to plan for those who sleep. We are the sleepers. I hope you guys know that. We are the sleepers. We are the sleepers. We need to be awake. We should be the mayors, presidents. That's our public life. So I hope this message is in our greatest good, the greatest good of our families, the greatest good of our community, the greatest good of all life everywhere. Amen. Shalom la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Comment to salat.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.